Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule.
برامجنا متوفرة بالعديد من اللغات. يرجى زيارة suprememastertv.com/schedule.
The Typewriter, a revolutionary invention of its time, Part 1 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
I believe in food justice and sovereignty for all. Gan Chin Lin, vegan.
A good way to start a casual conversation with someone from the Union of the Comoros is to say AJAR. That means hello in Shigazija, one of the native languages spoken by the people of this archipelagic African state. My name is Omari. The environmentally friendly citizens of the Union of the Comoros applaud your wise decision to embrace a wholesome vegan lifestyle that leads to better health and a cleaner conscience. May God shield you and your loved ones from harm. Welcome to our show, The Typewriter, a revolutionary invention of its time, Part 1 of 2. With the development of computers and the internet over the past several decades, communication and written language have undergone drastic transformations. This has rendered many items obsolete. Things that used to be integral in everyday life, such as landline telephones, cassette players, and VCRs, are disappearing and may even seem alien to the younger generation. One such object is the typewriter. Until a couple of decades ago, typewriters were commonly seen in business offices, schools, libraries, and bookstores. Although they are less efficient than today's digital writing devices, they nonetheless played an important role in human history. Some even say the typewriter revolutionized the world of printed language and the office workplace, and to a large extent helped redefine the role of women in society. On today's program, we'll explore some of the early machines that led to the development of the modern typewriter. Much like computers and cell phones of today, typewriters went through numerous versions, models, and upgrades, with continuous improvements made by different inventors, scientists, and ingenious individuals from around the world. Before the invention of the typewriter, all forms of written communication were done by means of handwriting. Clergypersons, politicians, editors, and teachers, among others, relied on their writing abilities to produce information in textual form. During the 1700s, businesses in Europe and the United States developed a method known as shorthand, or stenography, that allowed a person to write faster than conventional writing. Reporters used this method, but businessmen needed a more uniform, rapid, simplified, and readable way to record their correspondence. Prior to a functional model being produced commercially, many attempts to create a typewriter were made with some success. These early machines were usually large, slow, and cumbersome, with some looking like a piano or harpsichord. Initially, they were built to help vision-impaired people communicate with others. In 1779, Wolfgang von Kempelen, court counselor in Vienna, Austria, created a typing machine for the godson of the Habsburg ruler, Her Majesty Empress Maria Theresa, in 1808. In response to a friend's request, an Italian inventor named Pellegrino Turri built a typing machine equipped with a source of ink and carbon paper. In 1714, an English gentleman named Henry Mills patented a writing machine that he described as an artificial machine or method for impressing or transcribing letters singly or progressively one after another. Unfortunately, none of Henry's designs have survived to this day. The typographer, the ancestor of the modern typewriter, was patented in 1829 by William Austin Burt in the United States and was well received in the business world since it produced neat writing. A few years later, French inventor François-Xavier Proudhon updated the typographer by organizing separate key levers for each character. His machine was used for printing letters and also music. In 1830, the Italian scholar Celestino Galli di Caru invented a machine similar to a harpsichord called the potenographo. It transferred shorthand characters into a printed format on paper and increased writing speed. 4 years later, the raphigraph or needle writer was invented by the French mechanic Pierre-François Victor Foucault at the request of his friend Louis Braille, who wanted to print his ingenious writing system for the visually impaired. In the United States, Charles Thaber patented a machine in 1845 that he named the mechanical chirographer, which reproduced handwriting in a typewritten form. This device was followed by 2 upgrades, the calligraph spelled with 2 L's and the calligraph spelled with 1 L. A significant step forward towards the modern-day typewriter was achieved by the Italian lawyer Giuseppe Ravisa, whose cembalo scrivano, scribe harpsichord, had keys resembling those of a piano and allowed the user to see the writing as it was being typed. After his first machine was completed in 1846, Mr. Ravisa devoted the rest of his life to making continuous improvements and produced 16 additional models.
Vegan. Lose a small piece of dead meat. Gain the whole living earth.
Precious viewers, let's now pause for a moment to hear a brief message. We'll return shortly. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to our show on the history of the typewriter. The Hansen writing ball, the first commercially produced typewriter, was invented by the Reverend Rasmus Mayling Hansen, a Danish minister and principal at the Royal Institute for the Deaf in Copenhagen, who wished to help his pupils speak with their fingers. The machine had 53 keys arranged on a ball looking like an oversized pin cushion, combining the most used letters with the fastest typing fingers, and placing most of the vowels on the left and consonants on the right. The design maximized typing speed. Over time, more features were added for better performance and easier use. The Hansen writing ball was put into production in 1870, 5 years after its invention, and was sold in many European countries. However, because of its handcraft manufacturing process, it's believed that only 180 Hansen writing balls were produced. There are now just 35 remaining known ones, with 5 owned by private collectors. In 2019, one of the 5 privately owned typewriters was sold at an auction in Germany for for 100,000 euros, or about 102,000 US dollars, in its original mahogany traveling case. In 1865, in the United States, newspaper editor John Jonathan Pratt constructed a machine called the Type that he felt would help with his tired hands. His machine was based on a printing wheel principle known as Type. The typefaces of the device were on a type plate, which was moved horizontally and vertically by the keys. The impressions were affected by a hammer that struck the paper from behind, driving it against the type, which was a concept explored and experimented by many inventors of his time. Mr. Pratt's invention was the predecessor of the Hammond typewriter, a machine that had an excellent mechanical design created by James Hammond in 1881. The type shuttle allowed for different languages and fonts to be written, resulting in hundreds of options. Mr. Hammond's slogan for his machine was, "For every nation, for every tongue." Hammond's curved keyboard typewriter, without the standard QWERTY layout, lost out to his competitors. Building on the idea of the Type, journalist and publisher Christopher Latham Sholes from Wisconsin, USA, created his own version with his friends. Mr. Sholes is credited with inventing the QWERTY keyboard layout, which is still in use today. The Sholes and Glyden typewriter, also known as the Remington No. 1, was later acquired by E. Remington and Sons, who continued to refine the machine, setting the industrial standard of the time. Remington 2 models reached the market in 1878, offering upper and lowercase options, and the QWERTY keyboard layout. The Remington machine resolved the problem of the mechanical rods attached to the keys getting stuck together by spacing out the most used letters. It was such a success that other manufacturers adopted the same design. In 1872, the first electric typewriter with a printer wheel was invented by Thomas Edison. Its electric motor made it lighter for the typist to hit the type bars against the paper, resulting in faster typing. Edison's typewriter eventually developed into the ticker tape printer, which allowed stock prices to be printed on a moving tape by means of a telegraph. In 1920, James Smathers invented the modern electric typewriter for office use. Competing with Remington at the time, the Underwood Typewriter Company created the visible typewriter, which could show the words as they were typed. When it reached the market in 1900, the Underwood No. 5 was considered the first modern typewriter, and 2 million were sold in the early 1920s. Entering the emerging typewriter market in the early 1900s was the Royal Typewriter Company, which won over customers with many innovations that promised ease of use, reduced friction, and faster speed. Together with the Underwood Typewriter Company, the Royal Typewriter Company manufacturing facilities in Hartford, Connecticut, made the city the typewriter capital of the world. As the Industrial Revolution coincided with the production of the commercial typewriter, great social changes came to pass. Many businesses and jobs benefited from this new invention, including newspaper agencies and offices. Additionally, the typewriter afforded many women job opportunities and greater economic independence. In the next episode, we'll explore the social changes the typewriter brought to the world, look at some of the collections in museums and owned by individuals, as well as see some creative ways the typewriter can be used as an artistic medium.
Vegan, compassion incarnation.
Inquisitive viewers, Thank you for your company today during our show. The Typewriter, a revolutionary invention of its time, part 1 of 2. Please return next Tuesday, September 13th, for part 2. Up next is Healing Hearts and Lives with Dr. Baxter Montgomery, MD, Vegan, part 1 of 2, right after Noteworthy News. We pray that all of humanity will choose to walk on the noble path, emphasizing love and kindness to all beings.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/AJAR.